You're listening to the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast presented by Crouse Health, the exclusive healthcare partner of Syracuse Athletics.
Well, welcome back to another edition of the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast. And we got a great guest for you today, folks. It's the first general manager in the history of the Syracuse basketball program and a Syracuse alum to boot, Alex Kline. Alex, first of all, it's great to see you. How you doing?
It's great to see you as well, Mike. Doing great. It's been 10 days on the job now. I'm having a lot of fun. The staff has been extremely welcoming. It's great to meet the players, and it's been a total 180 as far as, life change and lifestyle and time commitment, but it's been a lot of fun.
We're going to get into some of that lifestyle change and all the other stuff going through, because and actually it does take me to maybe one of the biggest questions I had. So let's get to this right off the bat. You spent the last 8 years in the NBA and at the scouting level, working in front offices, 4 years with the New Orleans Pelicans, and the last 4 years with the New York Knicks. Why leave the NBA after 8 years in the league, and you're only 30 years old? We should point that out. I mean, you started working in the NBA when you're 22. Why leave the NBA to come back to the college level for this gig at Syracuse?
You know what? I wanted a new challenge. I think I had done the scouting thing for so long in the NBA as far as the last 8 years, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being able to be, in the mix with every program and learn about every player, and it was a complete crash course and master's and doctorate in scouting and talent evaluation. I think what I was missing was being around the team, because when you're in scouting, people don't always realize this. You're on the road 150 days a year, and you're not really around the players. You're not there for the big wins and the tough losses. And truth be told, the most fun I ever had in basketball in the 15 years I've been in it is when I was a high school basketball manager. And I was around the team and I was around the guys. I mean, I was the water boy, so it was a little different. But I think there's just something special about being able to be with the guys, having that camaraderie. And I think now that I've been in the NBA for so long and I've been where all these guys want to get, I think from a mentorship and impact standpoint, whether it be, helping them build better habits to get to the NBA, but also just for 40 years from now, because a lot of these guys are going to have careers after basketball, whether it be a few years later or whatever that may be, but just to help them be the best human beings they can be. So I think it's kind of from a social impact standpoint, it meant a lot to me. But I would also be remiss to say, I have some really unique cutting edge ideas for college basketball, the landscape it's going, where it's more like the pro game now. And I think there's a lot of things that we can do here at SU that, model what the NBA does. And I just think in the era of NIL and transfer portal and everything like that, you have to be extremely creative. And this opportunity made a lot of sense because they're giving me the autonomy to be creative.
So what are some of these ideas? What is going to be your approach to this job? Because it's a new job. So you have a blank slate. You get to make it what you want, or I guess in tandem with Adrian Autry, of course, you get to make it what you want. So what are your visions for this job? And I actually want to, if we can get specific, what are your ideas?
Well, look, we're still figuring out a lot of these things because it's so early on. I would say this: in the NBA, coaches coach, and the front office and scouts, they scout, they evaluate, they become, they think of strategic ideas to help with salary cap management, with evaluating. So, your imagination can run wild as far as how we can, do things properly, efficiently, and in a unique way with the transfer portal, with recruiting, with essentially what is your NIL salary cap. among many other things. So, we're in the midst of figuring those processes out right now. But my thing is, I think results matter, but you want to have real processes in play because at the end of the day, people's money, it's going into this. You have to have proof of concept of, hey, why should I donate to this program? Why should I contribute? And rather than just throwing your money blindly into something like, the college basketball model of, hey, we got to, 5 minutes away, there's this player who is ranked really highly. We need to get him, even though he's got a terrible attitude and he doesn't play hard. That can't be the model anymore because every dollar counts. And it's very similar to the NBA salary cap model of, okay, if you sign good players on good deals, you'll be rewarded. And if you sign bad players on bad deals, you're not going to last very long. And I think it's very similar at the college level. So I think I'll be collaborating with the coaches in a lot of different ways to support them from a roster construction standpoint and really make this as efficient a process as possible for them, where at the end of the year, we'll be collaborating and figuring out, hey, here are the best options. You guys choose who you like. We'll figure out just what the best fit is on all fronts. And I think essentially my job is cutting out the fat.
I'm sitting here listening to you a little bit and like, I'm thinking to myself, this is like so similar to an NFL fantasy draft auction, where even like a normal guy in his fantasy league, they have to decide how much they want to spend on a tight end. Is a veteran more valuable than a rookie? Fit is going to play a part. Do you take a wide receiver when the quarterback position sucks? Is that kind of what you're doing here, is determining whether you want to transfer or a high school recruit?
Yeah, I think it's part of it. I think a big part of it that maybe wouldn't impact you and your buddies in a fantasy draft, but it's the character.
Sure.
That part matters. So much of what we did at the NBA level with scouting was intel. So you have to find guys who represent the university well. You have to find guys that fit with the coaching staff. And, they've done a really good job. Like this group we have coming in, some really, really great personalities and great people. But that's the best way to get everyone on the same page when, let's put it frankly, like chemistry is at a premium right now because you're bringing in so many new guys with so many different aspirations. How do you get them to click in such a short time? Well, if they're about the right stuff and they're good teammates and they're coachable, it makes it a lot easier. It really does.
So in terms of being the general manager, one of the areas has got to be player evaluation, right? I mean, but will you go out and recruit along with Adrian Autry and Alan Griffin and Brendan Strawn and Dan Engelstadt?
Yeah, no, I think periodically I'll be subbed in. I think it'll probably be easier during the college season when those guys are focusing on practice and game planning and development and, the upcoming games. I think they'll find their times where they'd like me to go out and evaluate and figure out, just what works best. But yeah, we're still discussing those plans and ideas, but it really is kind of a Swiss Army knife roll.
That's fun though, right?
Oh, I'm excited. No, hey, look, it's again, the scouting thing in the NBA was really enjoyable. It prepared me for this, but I like the idea of being able to have the creative freedom and Coach Autry's really allowing me just to do my thing. We're collaborating and communicating at a high level. Our assistant coaches and the rest of the staff, like they've just been extremely supportive and open-minded to this. And I think it's going to benefit everyone. I think it's going to take a lot off everyone's plate, but I think it's also going to energize everyone with new ideas and different ways we can do things here.
I want to read you a quote, and I don't know if it was a quote from you or attributed to you in the university's release about you taking the job. Coach Autry and I are in lockstep on a process-driven vision that is linear to how NBA front offices construct winning rosters. Explain that to me in plain English.
For clarity, I actually wrote that myself. So it wasn't constructed by any, like I actually, no, look, at the end of the day.
But in English, what does that mean? You're a process-driven vision that's, and this was the part that I really wanted to ask about, linear to how NBA front offices construct winning rosters.
Well, look, coming from the NBA, we do things a certain way. We are process oriented. Where if you're going to evaluate one player, you're going to do that the same way with every single player. Coach and I see basketball very similarly. I think the staff sees basketball very similarly in a modern way, but I think we're also open-minded to all types of players. And I think that's where we're just going to have to figure out, what do we value in this program? What are our non-negotiables? What are our non-negotiables and what are our negotiables? And that comes with your character and intangibles. It comes with what we value in point guards and centers and perimeter players. And I think it's just trying to figure out ultimately, like, where do you want your money to go? And what do you value?
Non-negotiables. You don't watch The Bear, do you?
No, I tried it for a day. My friend really likes it. I got to get back into it because it's clearly a really good show.
Well, I bring that up because in the beginning of season 2, Jeremy Allen White, the show's star, he's running his restaurant and he comes up with a list of non-negotiables. Things that he and his staff have to do every single day. What are your non-negotiables?
So I would say this, because Coach Autry, at the end of the day, he has the final say.
What if Coach Autry told you are his non-negotiables?
We haven't had that discussion yet. It'll come. No, look, I think at the end of the day, you want a program that is well-rounded. You want a program that values both ends of the ball, offense and defense. You want a program that values character, coachability, all those intangibles that, not only lead guys to the NBA and success, but make for successful college programs, successful college players. And I think, we want to be as cutting edge as possible. But we also know that the game of basketball is very simple, so we're not going to overcomplicate it. But I think by doing all of these things, it's going to put us in the upper echelon with all the blue bloods out there who, again, have established really impressive processes, have done a great job on the recruiting trail, on the evaluation trail, and have done a really good job of making the most of their budget. So, again, we've got a lot of tough conversations to have as a staff, but I think really, really good conversations to have, because once we debate it and figure out what matters to us and what's most important, then when we're in the heat of the moment in the portal or whenever, and we're debating between player X and player Y, well, we're going to have to go back to, okay, this is what we value. The orange standard, and I think that's brought up a lot. It's talked about a lot by Coach. And I think this will give it even more meaning and validity of what the orange standard is and how it represents so many players in the past who made this program so elite.
On standard, that's the phrase that's on Coach Autry's wall in his office. Let's get into maybe some philosophy here that you're going to take into this job. Are transfers, especially maybe like third or fourth year guys in college transfers, are they more of a sure thing and therefore maybe more important than high school recruits in this day and age?
I think you need a mix of both. Retention really matters, Mike. So you want to have guys who grow up in the program and continue to get better and play a big role and continue to grow in that role, because development matters. I think you also want instant impact guys who, again, have proven themselves, and they need to be able to translate from, say, a lower level to a higher level. But at the end of the day, I do think a mix matters. I don't think there's a perfect equation where you need 6 of this and 4 of that or whatever it may be. I just think you need guys at the end of the day who coach can rely on and say, hey, if I need to stick you in a game, I know exactly what you do, and they need to know what they do. And role players are really important. And I know sometimes people can frown at the idea of, oh, I'm a role player, or that doesn't sound great because everyone wants to be the star. I know my time with the Knicks, we had some amazing role players who impacted winning at the highest level. And I think that could be the same here. So whether it's a transfer who's been in college for 4 years or a high school freshman, I think all those guys have to ultimately play a role. And I think that's the goal here, finding substance over status.
Syracuse has had great players in its history, stars. Carmelo Anthony, Derek Coleman, John Wallace, Lawrence Moten. But I always thought the foundation of this program was Jim Boeheim and his assistant coaches over the years, their ability to find guys that could come in. Maybe they don't contribute much in year 1 or even year 2, but then they have a major impact. I mean, guys like Stevie Thompson, Lazar Sims, Alan Griffin right there on your staff down the hall from you probably. Demetrius Nichols, a great example. Damone Brown, the list goes on and on. These are the guys. Are those guys, is it possible to build a program on those guys anymore? Because it just seems like with the transfer portal and NIL and other schools whispering in kids' ears, hey, you didn't play much there. Come here. And we promise you rainbows and butterflies and NIL money. So is it possible to still build with developmental guys?
I think so. No, I think it's very possible. I think that's where your intel goes a long way. You need to know what kind of families you're getting. You need to know what kind of kids you're getting. You need to know what their mindset is. Obviously, so many guys think that they are NBA players, but I think there are so many guys who they're realistic and they have realistic families and they still value college and they still value the benefits that come with going to college. So this program won't be for everyone. And we're not going to be for every kid, but I think that's where we're going to be very selective in our process of who we recruit and who we pursue. I know that the portal and recruiting at times can be speed dating, but again, that's where I think I'll help cut out a lot of the fat. And I think collaborating with Dan and Brendan and Griff and Pete and Coach and really all of our staff will just allow us to, again, maximize our time and especially during the season, like really lock in on what we value, who we value, and just make everything a lot easier for spring recruiting on the high school side, as well as transfer portal and everything beyond that.
Mentioned character a couple times here in our conversation. What about just the pure numbers, analytics? How big do they play in your evaluation of a player, be he a transfer or a high school recruit?
I think analytics are a piece of the pie. I don't think you solely do something based on numbers or analytics. So, I know sometimes people look at me and maybe it's because I wear glasses and they think, oh, he's an analytics guy. No, I value analytics. I value numbers. I think they're a good way to validate what you think or also say, hey, maybe you caught someone on the wrong day or the right day. Because look, you can catch a guy shooting 10 for 10 from 3, one game, but then you look and, oh, he only shoots 25% from 3. So it's just a good way of validating everything. I think that's the same on the coaching side. Like it's going to be a piece of the pie. But again, that's where you have to have a well-rounded approach and it's part of the process. But I think the process has so much more to it. So many more layers.
That's interesting. It's like interesting when you say like you see a guy on the wrong day or maybe like the right day, but he actually plays much better than he actually is. I saw Chris Bell one time in high school. He went 0 for 5 from 3-point range that day, and I walked out of that gym going, "What is Syracuse seeing this kid?"
You caught him on the wrong day. He can shoot.
I did. And I've told his dad that story too. And his dad laughs every day. He goes, thank goodness Adrian Autry came back the next day.
Exactly.
Right. And we mentioned NIL a few times. What is Syracuse's NIL standing? Maybe in relation to the ACC, or, because you had to know at least some of the, dollars before taking this job. You couldn't have taken this job blindly without knowing where SU stands.
Look, I think it's a program and an athletic department that is very modern. It's pro NIL. It's all for players being compensated fairly. Um, I think at the end of the day, though, whether we have $1 billion or $1, I think we have to stick to the same process of, again, finding undervalued guys and making the most of our evaluation of our intel. And that doesn't change to me. That doesn't change. So, you know, I think we can do a really, really good job here, regardless of the circumstances. But I think, Coach Autry has done a really great job of getting out into the community and dealing with donors and dealing with different people. And he's got such a great, warm, fuzzy personality where, I think that goes such a long way. I think when we're able to explain further and further to donors what we're trying to do by adding this position and everything behind the scenes, I think people are going to really, their ears are going to perk up and say, "Oh, so this is what it's going to." Okay, that makes sense. Business people want to hear about how the sausage is made, and I think we are going to be able to explain how the sausage is made as opposed to, well, here it is.
Will you be part of that? Will you get out and talk to people, not just Coach Autry or John Wildhack, but because you are the GM, will they business people want to hear that from you?
Yeah, I think that's a part of it as well. Again, the Swiss Army knife factor. I think I'll have to be involved in that. And I think I have a lot to say. Again, complimenting Coach Autry and John and everyone's vision here. But I think they need to hear it from myself as well. And I'm happy to have those conversations. I'm fortunate where I do have a fundraising background from my charity days running, the Mary Kline Classic. So I understand how important, every donor needs to feel in order to make sure that they continue to support the program or that they decide to support the program. And again, that's where I think if we build out smart, thorough processes, and I know I've been using that word a lot, Mike, but I think that it's extremely important. It benefits our talent evaluation. It benefits our roster construction. It benefits our salary cap. It benefits our donors. Everyone wins so long as we have the right processes in play.
You touched on it there, your beginnings in basketball. I don't know I think a lot of people do know your background, but for those who don't, Alex has been a rising superstar since he was like a teenager or maybe even before. You began the recruit scoop. I don't know what age you were then, but man, it was a terrific recruiting analysis of recruits and promotions of recruits, publicizing high school kids. I think was it Rivals or Yahoo that bought that up from me, or you joined with them? Which was amazing. And then you mentioned the Mary Kline Classic, which was a high school all-star event named in honor of your late mom. And it's been raising over $100,000 over the years for cancer research. And that's when I met you. I met you through the Mary Kline Classic.
Oh yeah, no, it's been a fun journey, and Syracuse was obviously a big part of that. My education here, and I think that, Mike, is what made it even more enticing to come back. This place has been really good to me. I've had a lot of great memories here. A lot of the coaches have been really good to me. And yeah, no, I never thought I would be back here. I thought I'd be in the NBA forever. But life happens, and I'm really glad I made this decision. Again, in the last 10 days, it's been the happiest I've been in a long time. So, and I say that genuinely, like, the people I work with across the hall they're really good people. They care about you. They care about your family. I know it's very cliche. Shoot, even my girlfriend who's moving up here in a month or so, Coach Autry's wife was nice enough to take us to dinner, and it just made her feel really good. And that doesn't come with every program or university. The people here ultimately are what drew me to this place.
Well, that's really cool. It's good to have you back in town. It'll be
Good to be back.
It'll be fun working with you. Although, even though you're now at SU, and I know you're going to get the full collection of SU golf shirts and SU hoodies, and that's like, required. Don't you think every once in a while, just to drive the point home with the players, that you need to like break out a Knicks something, just go, guys, you want to go to the NBA? I was in the NBA. You need to listen to me.
My first day on the job here, I did not have any gear. I walked in with like a peach colored, somewhat orange Knicks polo, and I made sure to introduce myself to every player and got their phone number and just said, hey, I'm here to be a resource for you. I don't know if they thought I was some crazy person off the street who just got into the facility or if they actually knew. But yeah, no, it's actually a good idea. I saved all my gear, and yeah, no, I'll wear it from time to time, but people can give me a tough time about it. I was lucky. I got a little SU gear. Definitely need a little more.
Drive that NBA point home with them, Alex. Make sure they know.
Of course.
All right, Alex, listen, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. I've known you for God, I don't know how many years now, and it's a pleasure to have you back. I was really excited to hear that you were taking the job. And we go back to like high school gyms in New Jersey in the summer. I remember one year Jamal Murray was burying 3-pointers from the corner of some high school gym in North Jersey that was part of the Mary Kline Classic.
Oh yeah. No, we had some really great players. Him, Michael Porter, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges. We could go on, but
Karl Anthony Towns nearly took me out on the baseline at one Mary Kline Classic one year in Philadelphia.
It sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah, no, it's very full circle though. It's very full circle, and it's been fun getting to know you, Mike. I'm glad you've been able to watch me kind of grow up just as a lot of other people in the business have. And I think this is pretty full circle. And it's funny, I got a lot of texts the past week or two. And in recruiting, everyone likes to say, oh, it's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit. And a couple people texted me and they said, this is literally, you going back to Syracuse to be the GM, said, this is literally the perfect fit. And I said, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
That was really cool. Congratulations on the job, Alex. Thanks for joining us here on the Inside Syracuse Basketball Podcast. Thank you to all the listeners out there. We'll see you again soon.
Join us next time for the Inside Syracuse Basketball Podcast, presented by Crouse Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics.